Hello everyone and welcome to Azam Sharp Weekly. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a very simple application that will consist of some items being displayed on a list with a check mark. And you can checkbox and you can uncheck. So let's go ahead and see how we can create that. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to create what we will be storing or what we'll be displaying in the list. And you can use anything you want. I'm just going to go ahead and create a task and make it identifiable. Now you can go ahead and do that in a separate file, but it's a small demo, so we can use the same file for this demo. Name of the task, like it can be mow the lawn, clean the dishes, clean the car, and it's completed. We will send it to be false. And you'll see that why we are changing or why we are not using a let. We're using a var over here because the task can be marked completed. Okay. All right. So now we will go back to our content view. I'm going to go ahead and create some dummy task. There we go. So we're creating the task array, and you can see that I have initialized the task array with two tasks, mow the lawn and feed the rabbit, and both of them are initialized with a false value, which means that these tasks are not completed. So the first thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and display these tasks. All right. So how can we display these tasks? Well, we can use a list and we can display it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and use a VStack for now and put the list in there. Task. We will get the task. And now I can go ahead and display the actual task, which is task.name. If I go ahead and refresh my screen, you can actually see both the tasks are being displayed, mow the lawn and feed the rabbit. Other thing that I want to display is the image of a check mark, because right now I can't really do any check marks. So how do we do that? Well, let's go ahead and wrap this with the edge stack. And if I want to create a check mark, I can use a system-wide icon image, which in this case can be square. And now you can see that we have our check marks inside a list with each item. Now, how do I know that to type square over here and not something else? There's a tool which is called SF Symbols, which stands for San Francisco Symbols, and that will allow you to, you can download it from Apple website, and you can see that they have a lot of different icons. You can see it just goes on and on. There's also a search bar over here. You can search for like a check mark or something, and it will give you check mark and all of those different things. All right, so definitely go ahead and download this tool. It's very, very handy and it's free. Just search for San Francisco Symbols, and you'll be able to download it. Okay, so we're now displaying the image. We are displaying the text. Now we need to change it, meaning I should be able to tap on the check mark and change the status. But the question is, well, how do we do this? Well, the first thing is that we need to do on-tap gesture on the image itself so that we can tap the image. Once the image is tapped, we need to probably toggle the is completed, something like that. All right. Now, if we try to do that, it's going to tell us that that's a mutating member, and this part is a mutating member, and you can't really do that. You can't really change it. Now, one of the cool things you can do in Swift is that you can get access to the bindable expression. So how would we do that? Is instead of using task, I'm going to use $sign task. So you'll see if I use a $sign and task, I get binding, and I also get the type of that binding is an array of tasks. So I can use that. And now I can just hang around and I can just use that binding task. And now you can see that it doesn't complain because now it's a binding task and we will be able to bind to it. We will be able to change. All right. Let's go ahead and run this and see if it works. Nothing really going on. I think we should be able to check mark it, but you will see that currently we are only using the square image, which produces the squares. So even though the tab and the is completed might be toggling, but it is just telling us that it is square. So we can now change this. We can say if task is completed, then we're going to use something else, which will be checkmark.square. Again, you can use San Francisco symbols to get the real name, which is checkmark.square anyway. So basically this is saying that if the task is completed, return this string, which is going to be the actual checkmark.square, else return square. And now if I run this, you can see that I can check and uncheck also. Pretty cool, right? So only with few lines of code we were able to do that. Now, eventually you will decide that, hold on a second, this is fine, but maybe we can move this H stack to a different control, to a different, different cell or different view. So I'm going to go ahead and say command click and hit say extract subview. And the subview that we have extracted, let's go ahead and name this something, task cell view. And in order for the task cell view to work, we are going to go ahead and make sure that we can pass in the task. Let's go ahead and change this portion to say task cell view. And we will pass in the task, which in this case will be $task because it's a binding. Okay. So what we have simply done is that we have moved the code which was in H stack, and now we have created this separate task cell view which we are using. And the reason for doing this is that it's always a good idea to create these smaller controls, so maybe we can use it in the future. Now obviously you can put this in a completely separate file, that's fine. Let's go ahead and run it again. And now we can do the same exact thing. It's not like any different or anything. All right. Now another thing that we can do is whenever the task is updated, because we are updating it on line number 43, it's also going to be updated in the array that we have on line number 18, which means that I can go ahead and print out that how many tasks are updated or completed tasks. So I can say over here completed tasks count will be equal to, and I can say task.filter, and in the filter go ahead and give me the completed task and then make sure to give me the count. All right. So if I run this right now, you can see the count is currently 0. Now if I check it, you can see the count is updating. This is just to show you that even though we are toggling, we are changing the task or is completed, we're toggling it inside the task cell view, since that particular model was actually passed to you as a bindable expression or with using the binding property wrapper, any changes that we are going to do to the task, which basically is toggling between the completed state, are also going to be reflected in the task array that we have. All right, so that's the main point I'm trying to display over here. You can see that as soon as I check stuff, it is checking and unchecking. All right, and it's actually pretty simple, as you have seen, that it's pretty simple to create a completely custom checkbox. Now, if you don't like this checkbox because I'm using these squares, well, guess what? You can completely change it. Go ahead and find whatever you need, kind of an interface, and just replace these things, and then it will appear as you will like. All right. So there you have it. Creating checkboxes, checking them in a list using SwiftUI. Hey, if you want to learn more about SwiftUI, then check out my course SwiftUI Cookbook with over 100 recipes for building iOS applications. You can already see it has more than 1,000 students enroll with great rating. You can see that this course will go through a lot of different stuff, and we have recipes as well as a code sample for all of them. So any questions that you have, probably I've already answered as a recipe. You can see that we have recipes for SwiftUI and core data, SwiftUI and Firebase, and even more recipes and what's new in iOS 15. So this is a great course for you if you have a question and the answer you're looking for I'm sure that the answer will be over here. I've already answered it in the recipes. And these recipes keeps on growing as I learn new things and as a new version comes out. So definitely check out the link for this course in the YouTube description. Thank you so much.